So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll give a little intro to my friend Greg here. He's the Director of Business Development at Rock Technology. They're a business IT solutions provider in Cedar Rapids, and they specialize in helping small and medium-sized businesses navigate the complexity of IT and cybersecurity needs. Greg's mission is to educate individuals and companies on the risks in today's complex world of technology. Please join me in welcoming Greg.
Good morning. I think what we're going to do, we'll do some introductions. I think at the end, we'll get through the content. If you have questions, please stop me. I do want to preface this by I don't pretend to be an AI expert. I don't think there's anyone that can claim that title yet today, except maybe an AI. Those of you that are already in the tech business know this. I mean, what I talk about today could change in a week, but this is where we're at today. Parking. Anyone else need that before I remove it? So this session is going to be a little bit about just readiness, how you might want to look at implementing AI, and some things to be careful about. So first, those of you that, you may not realize this, but AI has changed the cybersecurity landscape. You all see it in the news. You may be victims of it or know someone who's a victim of it. Phishing, ransomware, we hear about these things all the time. AI has changed that landscape. Maybe years ago, little smaller, medium-sized businesses weren't targeted as much. AI has now enabled that to enable them to advance and speed up their efficiency. There's new ways that they can scale phishing, impersonation, malware faster than ever. But it does benefit the good guys and the bad guys. The systems that we in IT providers use to help protect your business also use AI. So it's ever present. So, but some of the new threats you'll see, AI-powered phishing and social engineering. There are things called deepfake scans where they can impersonate voice if they want. Malware and hacking is faster. They don't need the skill that they used to need. Targeted ransomware. And then the one I wanted to talk about was kind of maybe more ever present is shadow AI problems. How many of you are actively using AI in your business? I was hoping none of you would raise your hands. Well, the intent is you're using it no matter what. If you have employees, you're using AI because they're using their phones. They're probably plugging into ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot if you're buying that license. So the big thing is if you're not managing AI use in your business and putting guardrails around it, you're putting yourself and your data at risk. So there are different ways that you can protect your business. Identity security, make sure these are basics. For some of you, MFA on all your accounts, conditional access, concepts of least privilege, hardening your email. Most malware and ransomware starts with an email phishing attempt. The one I wanted to call out there is, and I think I do it a couple times in the presentation, is no payment changes. Make sure you're not changing any of your payment methods via just an email interaction. If you want examples, I can give you of people that have done that and they regretted it. Make sure your endpoints are protected using reputable endpoint detection and response services. And then network security. This whole concept you'll hear is layer in defense. Why should you care about AI? So as a nerd, all of this is my fantasies and nightmares coming true. I've watched all the movies. So, but small, mid-sized businesses are increasingly, obviously, adopting artificial intelligence. Talent attraction and retention. Some of you, Nathan, you use this for careers. The current job market, younger people that are entering the job market, they're going to expect to use AI tools. They're going to want to use AI tools. They're being trained on it in school. So having that as something already in your business will help. Security, shadow IT risk, obviously you want to make sure you're prepared for it. Inevitable use. Your business is going to have to eventually use AI. If you're going to be encountered, it's going to happen. You're going to be forced to use it. So it's good to start early adoption, get yourself ready, because the catch-up costs down the road are going to be extensive. And then customer experience. You can use AI in certain circumstances to improve customer experience, making better decisions. So there's your why. Getting started. really, you start with AI looking at what problems you're trying to solve. Are you trying to reduce cost, be faster, be more efficient, improve customer service quality, reduce risk? And then what are the use cases for how it can help your business? What can it do to actually reduce staff if you wanted to reduce staff, reduce costs, or improve performance? And it's always good to start with something that's high volume, repetitive, and data intensive. So, what are those tasks that say that your staff just hates doing, repetitive? They sit there and have to do it for 6 or 8 hours a day. And can you maybe use AI to make those a little bit faster, easier, or eliminate their troubles? The first thing you need to be ready for is your data ready? Most AI will fail because of bad data. If it has bad data, it's going to give you bad output, give you bad decisions. So one of the, when we talk to our clients at Rock Technology, we talk about what state is your data in now? Is it organized? Is it random? Is it outdated? Then your first actions, let's clean it up. What data is going to be used for what process, and can we eliminate it or clean it up? Some other considerations that you need to take when it comes to AI: security, privacy, and compliance. Depending on your business, everybody has different regulatory requirements. HIPAA if you're deal with medical information. PCI if you are working with credit cards. You probably are very familiar with PCI. So some considerations are: where is your data processed? Is it processed on a server? Are you doing it there locally at your office? Are you processing, using QuickBooks in the cloud, for example, or whatever processing software you have for your business? And do you have access controls in place of who can use it, how they're using it, and are you logging it? Are you tracking how it's being used so that you can monitor that later? Some of the best practices when you're using AI is that you set it up so that your data is not mixing with the internet. You don't want your financial data from your company or your proprietary information to be out on the internet to be used by AI. But you can set up, when you set up an AI system, you can control what data it has and where it goes. Implement role-based access. This is something everyone should do in their business. If the concept is, they only have access to what they have to have access to for their business, for their job. Monitoring the employee use of AI. Talked about that at the beginning. Everyone has a phone. Every phone has AI. What are your employees doing with AI if you're not actively managing it? Are they putting your financial information and trying to get information? Are they going to OpenAI, ChatGPT, and loading a financial spreadsheet in and doing analysis? Is that being controlled and regulated in your business? Updating your internal security policies. If you don't have an acceptable use policy for your employees, you probably should look at one. They've always, most have been in existence, like what you can do with your computer that we've provided to you on the internet at home. What can you do with it? You want to make sure you're adding in AI.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that policy might look like? Like, what would you put in it?
Well, I think it depends on how your business wants to use AI. I would put in it, restrictions on what kind of data that they can put in it. Do not put proprietary information. Do not put financial data, and also what tools they can use. They can't just use Gemini. They can't use it. Hey, we've provided Copilot licenses in our business. You must use Copilot for all business use. You cannot use a personal ChatGPT account. You need to use the corporate ChatGPT account. So those are the
one because that's more secure, right?
Correct. Yep. So no problem. That's really what you want to do in that policy is what can they do with AI because they're going to use it anyway. So at least you're protecting yourself if something happens and your information is out there. So if you don't have those, because you also see those, like what can they do with their computer? There's all kinds of terms that you would put in an acceptable use policy. But if you do not have one that has AI in it, I would recommend looking at that as a first step. When you start thinking about, okay, we're going to bring AI into our business, you have to consider what tools you're going to use. There are so many. If you Google AI tools, the list will be, AI will give you a long list. So you want to integrate, make sure that whatever tool you use integrates with other systems. What else do you use in your network or in your business? Are you using QuickBooks? Are you using Sage? Are you using Bamboo for employee management? Making sure that the tool you use integrates. It should fit into existing workflows. You don't want to bring something in and say, oh, I have to change how I've been doing business or how I want to do business because AI needs this. You want to make sure that AI can fit what you're doing now. Next decision is build versus buy. Buy is probably the most common use case. There are tons of tools and software out there that you can currently use. But if you have the development chops in your house or at your business, there are ways to build your own AI agents there locally without going out and buying a Copilot license or ChatGPT. One of the considerations is if you have a unique data workflow or you have information you don't want to leave, you want proprietary information to stay, you might want to look at building out an agent. It's something we've done. You can do it very easily without bringing in some large tool. And then the final, obviously, cost, training, and scalability. These aren't free, so there are cost components. I think the pricing and the cost structure for AI is going to be something that's very volatile. What it is today is going to change. All of these big buildings that we're seeing it here in Cedar Rapids very directly has to change something eventually. I think they're trying to get us to adopt AI, and I think the cost structure is going to change, but that's just my opinion. So, but then there's cost around buying the software, prepping your data, integrating it, training your staff, monitoring it, because you do not want to allow AI to do things without you watching what it's doing. And how do you optimize the process? Because how it starts will not be how you want it at the end. How much training does your team need to use it? And that's something that will be different for each of you. Obviously, not to be generational, but if you have a younger generational group, they've been using AI probably to write their papers since high school. But if you have people that are my age, they may not be comfortable with AI other than what Gemini tells them on their Google searches. So that's a factor of how much training will you need to use on how to use AI appropriately. It is a skill on what you ask AI and how you ask it to get the right information you want. It will think for you if you don't give it some guardrails. And will the tool grow with your business? We want to make sure that you have a tool that will actually continue to grow and offer more services and use cases for you. Yeah.
Monitoring, like at a bigger business or middle-sized business, if you guys were kind of consulting on this or advising on it, would you encourage like monitoring like logs of like what people are prompting?
Yes.
Yeah, like in a pretty detailed way.
Yeah, I would. I think it's later in here. I would, if I were doing it, especially if we were using it in a large use case. If I have a client, I advise them set up logging, have some sort of a human review of what's being asked, and the input, and then also, I'll get ahead of it here, but you also want to make sure that you don't really have too many processes that AI is doing from start to finish without a human kind of saying, yeah, go ahead, especially payment. A lot of companies are using AI to do accounts payable. If you're a company that has a lot of accounts payable receipt invoices, AI reviews, and I've worked for a company that they looked at it, and as long as that invoice was in X% of an allowable amount, it auto paid it. I mean, you can do that, but you might want to make sure you're monitoring that later. But you want to put guardrails on it. So, and that does present a challenge because you may not be saving as much. So you want to, it could be something where you start monitoring early more frequently, and you can expand that and change. Just depends on your staff and your team. So a big factor that we're all hearing, I've got young kids that are just entering the job market, and they're afraid of what will happen with AI and what kind of jobs. So people and change management, that is an overlooked factor. How is this going to impact the morale of your team if you bring this in? They're going to be afraid. Is this going to replace me? Because they're going to, again, believe everything. The sci-fi is becoming reality. So hopefully Skynet isn't starting to be mentioned, but it is a real thing. So on the opposite side, you do have people that will overtrust AI. Well, AI said this, so I have to take action. Google, there's tons of, whether they're real or not, but there's tons of stories about people using AI output, presenting it as their own, and it being wrong. I think I don't know if it's real, but there's one about a legal case where they used Chat GPT or something to come up with legal precedents. It actually cited a case, and it wasn't real. It had kind of created it. So whether that's real or not, but I'm sure there are examples out there of AI kind of getting a little creative. And then obviously, you've all made changes over the years in your business. Change happens. So any process change, you're going to have resistance. You've probably all heard this. Well, we've done it this way for years. We hear it at Rock Technology. We've always done it that way, and it worked. Why are we changing? Well, those are some of the questions you'll have to address. Some things you can do, really positioning AI as an assistant, not a replacement. It really should be the mentality that you're bringing AI into your business as an aid, as an assistant, not like, to replace Bob. So, and then really looking at like identifying someone. You probably have someone in your organization that's been begging to use AI or has been aggressively using it. Channel that and bring them in as a champion to help morale. And then, as a self-promoting item, partner with experts. If you have an internal IT department, make sure they're aware of what's being used in the system. If they're not, they're probably not doing their job, but or an MSP or even just vendors yourself. Governance and responsible use. I've said this a couple times. You do need guardrails. So make sure that you are approving rules for use in your business. AI can only be used this way with this tool in these terms. Data usage rules. What data of your own company's data can be used within AI? If you have Copilot, anything that you have in SharePoint and OneDrive, for example, could be accessed by Copilot. Well, maybe you don't want some of the information in SharePoint or OneDrive to be used. So those are some of the controls you may want to look at. This third one, human in the loop requirement. That's where I kind of mentioned. You want to make sure that you have somebody monitoring the output of AI to make sure that it is staying true to your intent. AI can make adjustments. It's designed to optimize, to change. So you want to make sure that there is a human in the loop to make sure that you're not making any major changes. And then an escalation path for errors, bias. AI is designed to have a personality in some cases. And I know my AI that I use in ChatGPT, it seems to want to challenge me sometimes. So you do have to have some sort of a path to check for errors and bias. And then I've talked about this simple AI usage policy and acceptable use. Just add it as an item to your current acceptable use policy if you have one, or go on ChatGPT and Google what is an acceptable use policy, and it'll build one for you. Or you can call me, and I will happily do that for you. And then accountability. Make sure you know who owns the data and outcomes. Make sure it's documented in your system. And then here, this is by no means, I'm not telling you to go out and do this, but these are some use cases of how people will use it, depending on your type of business. So you see, like I mentioned this before, most of you are in here. If you go on a website and you open it and it says, "Do you want to chat with us?" and you pop and that little pop-up comes up, that's I would 100% of the time say that's an AI agent that you start with. So customer support, ticket triage. If you've submitted a request to a vendor like, "Hey, I need help with this," and you get this really weird response back, it's probably an AI triage person that looked at it and And you've probably all had very frustrating experiences. Jordan had one the other day about resetting a password using AI. So that, again, it's a challenge. The other is if you have a lot of like customer support. We have a HVAC vendor that uses AI for their phone reps to just help them set appointments and just assist them in their job. That's a big part of AI's use. You'll see it in sales for like lead scoring. Probably one of the most common AI uses, and most of you are probably using this now, is a call or meeting summary. You can set something up in Zoom, Slack, Teams, where it's great. You have a whole meeting and it'll seconds later say, okay, here was what was discussed. Here's your action items. Here's this person's action items. These are the deadlines decided. It's probably a common use for Copilot especially. Marketing, content generation, ad and email variant testing, that kind of a thing. So operations, demand processing, scheduling. Like I said, this HVAC customer, they use AI to optimize their tech schedules as they work on different clients' needs. Process documentation, it can be used if you have a pretty, in our world in IT, we're always documenting processes that change as we help a customer with a new problem. AI can help you put that stuff together. HR, if you have ever recently used Indeed or LinkedIn or if you've been looking for a job in the last couple years, your resume was scanned by AI before it was ever passed on. That's a very common use case right now. HR, you can do like an employee Q&A assistant. If you feed AI with all the information about your benefits, your policies and procedures, you can use a chat tool for your people to say, how much vacation do I have? Or, so that it saves some effort from an HR perspective. And then I mentioned finance and accounting. Invoice processing is a big use for AI. Taking a look at an invoice, this invoice is within X% of every other time we've received an invoice from this vendor, go ahead and pay it. So it depends on how many you have. And then finance and accounting, if you have a lot of financial data and you want to do analysis and reporting, obviously AI can take all that information and put it together and do all that. And collections assistance, hopefully you're not getting calls, but those are all probably AI generated.
Is there a specific platform or offering that is more secure that you would recommend for finance and accounting? Is it you should not be using paid ChatGPT for finance and accounting?
I'd hesitate to really offer that. I would, if you're going to do finance and accounting, you want to make sure you're finding an AI assistant an AI agent that is specific to financial. I wouldn't use Copilot or ChatGPT. Maybe Claude it's more customizable, I think.
Would you say there's ones out there that are lesser known but maybe more sophisticated than just the big names that we
Yes. Yeah, there are. Every one of these silos that I've talked about has a dedicated AI agent that is focused on that. There is an AI agent for chat. And some of you may know these better than I do. There's so many, they're constantly coming in. You can always, again, talk to a provider. We can help identify some of the better ones. We do a lot with ChatGPT internally. A lot of our customers use Copilot because Copilot's easy. It's there. It can easily connect to your Microsoft data if you're using it. They're going to take over the world. So, but then Claude is another. It's kind of an up and coming. You see it being used a lot more than it used to. But there are a lot. Every one of these silos has a specific tool. So some of you that work in the IT space may have worked with some of these before. I hesitate to. I don't want to promote one over the other. Just make sure that you use one that has an established history. Cheap is not always better. That's we learned that in IT. IT is expensive, and if you use the cheap new tools, you're not going to get the best outcome. So you want to find a tool that has maybe someone that recommended it to you, or that has actual use cases and testimonials and reviews of that. Do be careful about reviews online because a lot of those are AI generated. They may self-promote their reviews. So, any other questions? This is my last slide here. So where do you go from here? I think the message I would give is if you're not already getting yourself ready, you should be getting yourself ready, your business. Get some established processes and procedures, and kind of start thinking about, well, what could we do with AI? And then this last piece is make sure that your data is ready to be used. We deal with this all the time in our world. You go into a company and they've got a file server with tons of data, terabyte of data, and 70% of it is not correct anymore because things have changed or it's old. So really working on cleaning some of that up is a valuable effort before you get into AI, because AI will find that data and start making decisions based off of old data. So you want to be careful. My recommendation, if you're not actively using it, or even if you are and want to expand, just pick one thing. Pick a small process and start small. Pick a couple people, go back to that champion that I talked about, get them involved. What do they do every day that we could start with? Then make sure and this is nothing new in any project you're gonna take on. What do you expect? What would success look like? Reducing the time that it takes to create invoices for all my clients from 6 days down to 2 hours, or whatever outcome. Make sure you have an idea of like what worked. Pick a tool, obviously, pick something that you want to work with. And then if you need help, ask experts. We're all out here. We say we're experts, but things are going to change. But we can all learn together.